Hi guys, and welcome back to Rachel's Enchanting Cakes. Now today I'm going to show you how to do this lazy unicorn cake, absolutely covered with sprinkles, but it also has a naughty surprise. Well, I say naughty, let's go with mischievous. And it only occurred to me whilst I was actually making this tutorial. So as you're watching it, you'll see how I progress and what I do just to make it that little bit more mischievous. We've got two completely edible unicorns. I've done the unicorn also as a separate tutorial, just in case you're not interested in making this cake or your similar take on it, but you just want to know how to make the lazy unicorn. So that will be available as a separate tutorial. Thank you for watching, everyone, and remember, if you do like what you see, please do share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel and I will be back soon with an awful lot more new content. The first thing we need to do to make this adorable unicorn cake is get our 8-inch cakes. I have a delicious recipe for this and I will leave a link for you in the description below the video. Basically, the recipe I have will create these two 8-inch cakes that we're going to stack on top of each other and create a lovely 4-inch deep cake. You're also going to need some buttercream. Again, I have a delicious recipe for this. I have made 1.5 lots of the buttercream because you'll just need 1 lot to cover the cake and fill it. But the spare amount of buttercream I'm going to be using as glue for the actual sprinkles and other parts. Some jam of your choice. Again, this is just the classic Victoria sponge recipe. I do have other recipes available on my YouTube channel. A palette knife, that will be for going around the edges. This, if you've never watched any of my tutorials before, is called a leveler. I have it set at exactly 4.5 centimetres for each cake, and we're literally just going to be taking a very small amount off the top. And then here I just have a cake drum covered with some baking parchment, and that's what we're going to be building the cake upon before we actually transfer it to a decorated cake drum. I have levelled the first cake. I will show you how to level the second one soon, but we want to actually start to fill this. So taking your buttercream, which I've placed in a piping bag, simply pipe around the outside of the cake, creating a rim. Now start to generously add the jam to the centre of the cake. Once you have filled it with jam, taking your piping bag, pipe over the top to cover this. Using your palette knife, simply smooth this over and try and make it level. Now we need to add the second layer of cake. You just gently cut through. Okay, place this on the top, and now all we want to do is crumb coat the sides. We want to cover all of the sides and the top, then place this in the fridge for a good 30 minutes just to let that buttercream set before we actually ice the cake with fondant. In order to actually cover the cake, I am choosing to use white Renshaw's fondant. Now, to cover an 8-inch round, 4-inch deep cake, you're going to need about 800 gram of the colour fondant that you choose to use. I have my rolling pin. Again, if you've not watched any of my tutorials before, these are called spacers. They're exactly 5mm thick, and when I roll my icing in between them, it just keeps it nice and even, ready for when I apply it to the cake. I've got some smoothers, a sharp knife. Now, when we apply the fondant, we are going to be cutting some shapes out of it. I'm choosing to use love hearts and stars because those are really popular with unicorns. You can choose any shape that you want, but you need to do it before we allow the fondant to set. So as soon as we've covered the cake, we are then going to be taking some of the fondant away using these before we place it back in the fridge, ready for the next step. So I have literally just taken this out of the fridge. It's been in there for about 30 minutes. So now we want to cover it. I have 800 gram of my Renshaw's white fondant, and you want to start just by kneading this so it's more pliable. Start by sprinkling your surface with some icing sugar. Then, taking your rolling pin, simply roll this in between your spaces, trying to keep it a round shape. Now we want to lift this up and place it onto our cake. I find the best way to do this is to place the fondant just over your rolling pin. If I do it this way round, you can see exactly what I'm doing. Make sure the fondant is at the base of the cake and gently roll over. And whilst it's still lovely and flexible, this is when you want to start negotiating the pleats with your hands. Because I've pushed those smoothers down, I have left a lovely rim where I can cut off all the excess fondant. So all I've done is gone around the edges. Now you'll notice there's a little bit missing there. That's where I've used a star. I've got a little piece missing there. I've just used a love heart. So that's what we're going to do now before we put this in the fridge and let the fondant go lovely and hard. I just wanted to do a few so that you could see what I was aiming to achieve. Now you want to use different sizes, different shapes. It's a unicorn cake, random. So if I just place that and I'm going to push this into the cake, you will not be able to use the fondant that you are pulling away at this point. It's very soft and it will be covered in crumbs. So that is literally all we are doing. So that's what you now want to do to your cake. I'm going to continue to do it. You do this now before the fondant has a chance to set, and then place it in your fridge. We're going to do that so that this fondant goes really hard so that we can physically pick this cake up and place it onto our decorated cake drum. So for the fat lazy unicorn cake, I'm choosing to cover my 12-inch round cake drum with this lovely fuchsia pink fondant by Renshaw's. To cover a 12-inch round drum, you're going to need exactly 3 packets, which is 750 gram. A sharp knife and a smoother. I'm also choosing to roll my fondant in between these 5mm spaces. This will just keep it lovely and even. I have just kneaded the 3 packets of Renshaw's fuchsia pink fondant together, and we are now going to roll it in between these 5mm spaces. I've dusted my work surface with plenty of icing sugar. And the secret is, even if you're covering a round cake, is to try to keep this in a circle shape. Once you have finished rolling out your fondant, in order to apply it to the actual cake drum, you want some cooled down boiled water. Simply take this and apply it to your drum. To lift up the actual fondant, if you use your rolling pin, you'll find it an awful lot easier. And then just place this gently over the top. It's literally as easy as that. Taking a smoother, just go over there. Finally, using a sharp knife, trim away the excess fondant. I need to work relatively fast with this, and then I'll explain everything I have. So I've got my 12-inch round decorated cake drum. I have just placed on the base of the 8-inch tin that I used to make this cake, just to give me a guide as to where to place the cake. The reason I'm working fast is so the cake doesn't start sweating. Simply lift it up using the baking parchment, peel away, hand underneath. And this is the nerve-wracking part, but you'll get used to it. drop. That's the part that I hate. Right, now we can take our time with everything else. If I just bring this up here. So what else do I have to decorate the cake? Well, I absolutely fell in love with this. It's called Sprinklette. It is specifically the Sprinklette unicorn one. If I just pick this one up, you get a better idea of what it actually looks like. Beautiful sprinkles, loads of different types in there. Lovely colours as well. I filled my piping bag with the leftover buttercream and a number 2 piping nozzle. Why am I doing this? Well, this is where it gets messy. We're going to end up with lots of sprinkles on our cake drum that we're going to have to take off. But we need to fill in all these holes, and I need something to adhere the sprinkles to. So just for the purpose of this tutorial, I shall do one and then carry on doing the rest off camera. So if we take a relatively small one, this love heart for example, I'm going to use the buttercream. See where I've just filled that love heart in with a little bit of buttercream. This is where it's going to get messy. Taking your Sprinklette, I figured if I used a spoon I'd make less mess, but that's, well, I've already dropped some, that seriously isn't going to happen. And then push them. Oh dear. Don't you just love being a baker using sprinkles when they go all over your floor? Push them into your shapes. It is working. My idea is working. The reason I wanted to do it like this is because fondant covered cakes stay fresher for longer. So it's a good way to do a cake, keep it fresh. Instead of just having loads of sprinkles all around the sides, just to have them in different shapes randomly around the cake, it's just something that little bit different. So that is what you're aiming to achieve. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill these, all of them, make a massive mess, like you do. I will tidy up and then I will show you what you're aiming to actually achieve. So this is what I have so far. Now I do plan on adding sprinkles to the cake drum and to the top of the cake. The kitchen is absolutely covered in sprinkles, and whilst they were falling everywhere, I came up with a very, very naughty idea. I am going to add sprinkles to the inside of this cake so that when it's cut into, I'm so naughty, aren't I? But it's fun, it's a unicorn cake, the sprinkles are just going to go everywhere. I know I'm really naughty, I'm really excited about this. Now what if you've got the sprinkles like kind of dotted everywhere, so whenever you have a slice of cake you're going to end up with sprinkles all over your floor. That's what we're going to do now. So here I have my cupcake corer. This is what you'd normally use just to cut out a hole in your cupcake. We're going to be using this to hide our sprinkles. Oh, I feel so naughty. I feel like a big kid. Never give me sprinkles again. So you just place your cupcake corer down. I have opened another packet of Sprinklette. So I've just had a little tidy up and I've been thinking, I'm a little bit mischievous at times. If this was my cake and loads of sprinkles suddenly came pouring out, and then I cut my second piece and more sprinkles came pouring out, I'd just take the sprinkles off the top to see where the sprinkles actually was. That's the problem with these holes. So we need to hide them. So all I've done is rolled out some more Renshaw's white fondant, and this is actually the base of a 7-inch round cake tin. I'm going to use that as a guide. Lift up your fondant and just simply place over the buttercream. What we're going to do now, I'm just going to add the few finishing touches. So the Sprinklette on the top, some around the base. I've only got one bag left, so I've got to go sparingly. I've got a lazy unicorn for the front of the cake, and then I also plan on placing a lazy unicorn on the top. Well, as you can see, I have hidden the evidence and it has worked. All I've used is some silver and some white balls and just literally pop them around the rim using some water to secure them in place. Now, I made this unicorn yesterday, if I just hold him up to the camera. Now, I plan on placing him at the front. Now I want to adhere him to the cake with something. Now we don't want to be using buttercream. I'm doing all of this back to front. If I just pull him away, I'm actually just going to be using some cooled down boiled water. This is just what I had left over from earlier. And that is exactly what I was aiming to achieve. Now I won't lie, I think I've got a little bit sprinkle happy, but you can never have too many sprinkles. Now you can put anything you want on the top of this cake. I'm choosing to make another lazy unicorn, and that will be on as a separate tutorial, which I will make a start on now. To make our lazy unicorn, I'm actually just using Renshaw's white fondant. You want to take a certain amount, leave enough for the head and the arms and legs. Now to this, I want to turn it into modelling paste just to make it that little bit easier to work with. So I'm going to add a small amount of Tylo powder. Once it's been kneaded in, straight away it's modelling paste. And this is what we're going to be using to make the body. Start by sprinkling your surface with some icing sugar. And now simply roll it into a bit of a cone shape. So imagine the head's going to be at the top end, and these are eventually going to be the legs. Once you've done that, you then want to cut where the legs are straight through the centre of the fondant like so. That's how we're going to model the legs separate to everything else. And then just using your fingers, pull out the modelling paste. We do want to twist, so I'm also going to start to push down around this area. Using a ball tool, I'm just going to smooth some areas out. To really emphasize on this tummy. Can you see how it's slowly starting to take shape? So for the feet, I just want to put in with my ball tool a little bit of detail. Doesn't have to be perfect yet because you're still shaping everything. Now you can use a Dresden tool or a toothpick. I'm just using a toothpick because everything's still lovely and soft. Just a little bit of definition on the legs. And now we can add the arms. Now I had a little bit of remaining paste left from that, which would be more than enough for both of his arms. Now I think on this one, on the other unicorn that I made, on the lazy unicorn cake, I have one arm coming down the side and one onto his tummy. I think on this one I'm going to have both arms just leaping up onto his tummy there. So if I just move that to one side, I'm going to start by rolling this just into a sausage shape. I'm going to cut this in half just so each arm has got exactly this right amount of sugar paste. Now to stick these on, we're just going to use a very small amount of edible glue. Whilst this modelling paste is still soft, I'm just going to add a few indentations to the arm. So once you've added the indentations, we want to make a start on the head. we're not going to be adding any colour or any sprinkles until the head is completed. So if I just place him to one side, to actually secure the head in place, we're going to be using lollipop sticks. So you just want to take one of these out of the bag. It's not a very large sugar model, as you can see, so I'm not going to need much. I'm just going to cut this with some scissors. Okay, and then just place that into your edible sugar model. You just want a small amount popping out for the head. So that is what we have so far. Now again, we want to turn this into modelling paste just to make it that little bit easier to work with. So add a very small amount of Tylo powder and just give that a good knead. So once you've finished rolling out the head shape, you want this in a slight cone, but not much. And then we are actually going to be placing it directly on here. So again, a small amount of edible glue, this time just around that lollipop stick that you've placed in there for extra support. So this one's really laid back, but he's not as laid back as the other one. If you want him more laid back than that, if you just use a cake dummy to support the back of it just whilst it's drying, it will stop anything from moving. Now I want to do his mouth, so using a Dresden tool, I'm going to have to turn him round slightly. I'm doing there, and just, you want him smiling because it's a unicorn. He's happy, he's got his sprinkles. You're also going to want the inside of this mouth relatively smooth, so take your time doing this. What I want to do now, I'm not going to add the eyes yet or the indentations for the eyes, I just want to add his nose. Now I'm not going to turn this into modelling paste, just a little bit of the white Renshaw's icing that I have left. Pulling further forward for you. So this is just a case of using our hands. We don't want it too big, but we want it quite prominent. Now I like to do them in little love heart shapes. What you want to do, start just by rolling more of an oval. And then using some edible glue just above the mouth, place on the nose. Now it won't look like anything until you start to manipulate, but if you use your fingers like that at the bottom, it makes more of a triangle. And then take your Dresden tool or a cocktail stick, you can use a cocktail stick. You just put a few indentations at the top and it gives more of a love heart shape. If I just have a little look from the front, perfect, absolutely adorable. I'm just going to use my ball tool just inside the mouth to make sure the back's smooth. I'm really happy with that. Now we want some nostrils, so again the ball tool, the small end, and then you just push in. Now for the eyes, we're actually going to be just using some black Renshaw's fondant again, and this is the point where we can actually start adding the details. The horn will be added last. I'm going to start with some fuchsia pink, one of my favourite colours, but great for the tongue because his tongue's going to be sticking out. And also I'm going to use it inside the feet and the arms. So we'll start with the feet and the arms. A small amount of edible glue. When I said smooth them out, if you just get your ball tool and literally go into each hole, make sure it fills the area correctly. For the mouth, I'm simply going to repeat the process, but this time you want an oblong, or should I say more of a cone shape. Edible glue again, obviously this time inside the mouth that you have made. Easy and cute as that. And then I'm actually going to use a cocktail stick this time because it's finer than the Dresden tool. I'm just going to put a little line down the centre. Here, where he's actually smiling, whilst everything's still soft, if we just go up a little bit with the cocktail stick, and then I want to do the eyes. You literally need the smallest amount of black fondant you can imagine. Now again, this is Renshaw's Jet Black. You take a very tiny amount and just roll it in between your fingers and make it slightly thinner on either end. It literally is as easy as that. I'm letting you see the front so that you can see exactly what I am doing now. I'm going to be adding eyelashes. Now for that you can either use the edible paint, or in my case I'm going to be using a little pen that I've got that's edible. But if you've got some edible food colouring and a brush, that's all you need. I'm just going to repeat that with the other eye. For the hair I'm going to use pink, turquoise blue and this lovely purple colour, and all you want to do is continually roll lots of sausage shapes. Just use fondant as well, it will go hard, it can be more fiddly to use, but you just want to give him character now, so I'll have that a little bit thinner, very gentle with it. Edible glue all over the head of my unicorn. As you can see, what I'm doing is relatively simple, so just keep on building that up. I'll just give him a little twirl for you. You can also see that I'm covering the back of his head, and the final colour I will be adding to this is pink. And he's almost finished. Now, all I have done here is cut off the sharp ends of a cocktail stick and placed it in top. And we're going to do that just for his horn. Now I'm choosing to use fuchsia pink, but you only need a small amount now, even that looks too much. Basic shape, and then once it's on the cocktail stick, we will shape it more. If you remember what I mentioned about the eyes and just giving him a few eyelashes, I'm choosing to use the Jet Black Rainbow Dust Pen, but you can just use food colouring. So what we want to do here, already put the hair on, I don't want to get any black on the hair. Just over the top, just a couple of lines, that's all you need. Now I have a few sprinkles left over here. Now most of the unicorn cake, you'll find them with actual cake in the mouth, but I thought it'd be a nice change just to use sprinkles. These are the Sprinkletti unicorn sprinkles. I think we'll have one in his mouth, just like we did on the other one. And then just randomly place them over your unicorn. And literally just finish covering your unicorn with sprinkles. And this is what you will end up with. Now you'll notice I've just added a little bit of diamante onto my cake drum and onto the base of my cake. If you've never added diamante on before, it's really easy. It's just like a strip of ribbon and it will easily adhere to the fondant cake with just a little bit of water. If I just give it a little twirl for you. Really simple. Remember, I've used a lot of sprinkles and they end up everywhere, but how cute and adorable does this look? Stay tuned, I will be back with an awful lot more new tutorials very soon, and thank you all for watching.